Are you ready to stop just running a business and start leading an industry? Welcome to Canada Business Talks with SK. This is your front row seat to the authentic stories of Canada's top innovators and industry leaders. We dive deep into the real-world strategies for tech and AI adoption, digital transformations, scaling for the Canadian market, and navigating trade and talent challenges. Brought to you by the team behind Canadian SME, supporting and celebrating Canada's diverse entrepreneurs, we're connecting the country's business community, one vital conversation at a time. It's a trusted map and the mentor you need to thrive in the Canadian economy.
I am SK. Join me for Canada Business Talks. Your journey to success starts here. From your perspective, what are the most impactful ways?
AI has been the great democratizer of technology for small businesses more than anyone else. An 18-year-old who's able to write a well-crafted prompt could generate an analysis that would make a McKinsey consultant blush.
What strategies or framework have proven very effective?
There's three key strategies or frameworks. One is accessibility. Two would be keeping it simple. Third one would be security or trust.
Welcome to Canada Business Talks with SK. I am your host, SK Uddin, founder and publisher of Canadian SME Business Magazine. Today, we are diving into a topic that's shaping the future of Canadian businesses, AI for SMBs. And we are not talking about theory. We are talking about what AI actually means for small and medium-sized businesses across Canada. SMBs make up nearly all employer businesses in this country. So how they adopt AI truly matters. To explore this, I am joined by two leaders who are deeply involved in bringing AI to the front lines of business. Kree Govender, Director SMB Sales, Microsoft Canada, and Doug Higgins, Vice President and General Manager, B2B Mobile, Samsung Electronics Canada. Let's get into the conversation. Kree and Doug, thank you so much for joining today for Canada Business Talks. How are you guys doing?
Thanks, SK, for having me here today. It's wonderful to be here.
Pleasure.
Thank you, SK. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Kree, let's start with this. AI is often discussed at a high level, but for Canadian SMBs, the opportunities can be life-changing. From your perspective, what are the most impactful ways SMBs can leverage AI today to drive growth, efficiency, or innovation, even with limited resources?
AI has been the great democratizer of technology for small businesses more than anyone else. Things that were once the domain of enterprises that were signaled by size of organization and access to funds, which typically was the unlock for technology and created barriers to entry, have now been democratized into large language models. I sometimes joke in some of my keynotes and I say that right now, an 18-year-old who's able to write a well-crafted prompt could generate an analysis that would make a McKinsey consultant blush. That's the truth today. So it's simultaneously raised the floor and dropped the ceiling for these SMBs. And those that are agile and nimble to take advantage of these technologies can now augment their offerings in a multitude of dimensions, from copywriting to image generation to creating high-quality outputs. Just with a small team, these SMBs can be light, nimble, and agile to go and compete in domains that they haven't before.
Love that, Kree. You have made AI feel real for a small businesses, that can save time, reduce manual work, and get clear insights. You have shown what's possible with the new AI trends. Doug, I want to look at why, even knowing this, many SMBs still hesitate to adopt. Doug, you work with a lot of mobile-first businesses, trades, retail field, services. They know tech matters, but they are worried about cost and complexity. Based on your experience helping SMBs across Canada, what strategies or framework have proven very effective in bridging the gap
from awareness to practical adoption of AI?
Thanks, SK. I think that's a great question because when we've gone out and we've spoken with SMBs across Canada, it's not that they fear AI, they're just cautious, right? So they're very careful in their thought in terms of implementing it. So when I look at our key strategies at Samsung in terms of going out and speaking with these SMBs, I think there's three key strategies or frameworks. One is accessibility. Two would be keeping it simple. And the third one would be security or trust. So if you look at accessibility, for example, we're talking about having the tools, the AI tools, built right into our phones, our tablets, our PCs, even our displays and appliances at Samsung. So they're there and they're available. It's not a go out and purchase. So we're talking about usability, affordability, and security. Keeping it simple is look at one or two problems an SMB may be facing. Don't try and solve everything. And it's amazing with a simple tool like Live Translate, for example, where you can enhance your customer communications or your customer service interactions. And then with security, we have Knox built in, multi-layer security from the chip up. So that addresses a lot of the security concerns. And there are AI features where all of the processing resides directly on the device and doesn't necessarily need to go to the cloud.
I really like the line, like keep it simple. It's easier for many SMBs to adopt instead of many complexities. Now, once SMBs start using AI, the next big question is, are we using it in the right way? So that's where, responsible AI comes in. Small businesses, want the benefits of AI, but they're also worried about trust, privacy, and fairness. And most don't have large tech or legal teams. Ethical and responsible AI is a core focus for Microsoft and for small and medium businesses. How can they implement AI in ways that are both practical, ethical, especially when they don't have large teams of data scientists?
It's a fantastic question, SK, and it goes back to one of our grounding principles within Microsoft. And if you walk through the halls, you will definitely see a sign on multiple floors that says Microsoft runs on trust. And trust is earned in drops, but it is lost in buckets. So first and foremost, whatever we put forth for our customers and our partners needs to incorporate that. And that starts first and foremost with security. So to the points that Doug had raised, from a Samsung standpoint, very true for Microsoft as well. So we have a very comprehensive security solution that protects the identity of the user from the start all the way through to the end of the transaction. We ensure that users' data resides within their tenants. As Microsoft, it's written into our terms and conditions of use, and irrespective of who your model provider is, you should investigate this, but we will never use your data to train our models. Your data remains your data. So around trust, it's very tightly aligned with responsible AI. And when we train our models, we provide multiple models. It's not just OpenAI. We have implementations that users can leverage from Anthropic, Mistral, and so forth. And we ensure that the training that is used in the data set and the testing that we put through the models makes sure that as far as possible, we are reducing and eliminating human bias. You'll never be able to fully eliminate it from there because it's interwoven into the fabric of human history, but as far as possible, we try to remove that. The final piece around this is that through the telemetry data, we can tell if there are malicious prompts that are being used, things that may relate to hate speech, things that may relate to sexual activity, etc. And we can highlight those back to the administrators of those organizations so that they can take appropriate measures. In certain industries, as an example, legal, if you're dealing with criminal law, you can adjust that sensitivity. So those are just some of the ways in which we enable and empower our users with responsible AI. And the best type of technologies are the ones that are transparent to users. So this sits in the background transparently to the users that are operating within the environment.
Thank you for sharing those insights, Kree. Are there any simple, like steps or approaches SMBs should be aware of from adopting the AI from day one?
Yeah, so the first thing that you need to do is develop AI fluency. And that starts with being as simple as experimentation with a generative tool through simple prompts. What we found through our Work Trends Index, which analyzes trillions of data points and surveys thousands of organizations, is that the first three interactions people have with the generative tool, in our instance it's Copilot, is that the length of a prompt is around 6 characters long. The reason is it's very much a correlation between the way that we engage with the search engine today. And a weak prompt often results in substandard results. But as people start to build fluency with AI and they start to build out stronger prompts and understand how to wrangle with the technology, you get significantly better outputs. And eventually you end up in a space of what I refer to as reflexive AI, where it isn't necessarily an absolute conscious thought to go and leverage the technology, but it's built into your workflow. And once again, the technology goes into the background and your workflow comes to the foreground in that scenario. For us, we manifest that through Copilot because we see that as the UI for AI. It is embedded into the technologies that billions of people know and love today, things like Word and Outlook and PowerPoint and Excel. So your AI journey can become the start through an application interface that you most are very familiar with, SK.
That's a great way to frame it, like simple guardrails instead of complex theory, like being transparent, closing trusted tools, and checking outputs. Now that we have talked about guardrails, Doug, I would love to hear how this looks in real Canadian SMEs using AI on the front line. Many small businesses, the office is a Samsung device for me as well, I do a lot of work from Samsung device since a long time. Someone's like, for a technician or for a driver or for salesperson using mobile all day. Looking at your work with SMB mobile and, like B2B mobile and cloud platforms, can you share examples of SMBs in Canada who have transformed their operations, like customer engagement or decision making through AI? And what lessons can other small businesses learn from this experience?
So I can look at a couple examples, and I think where we've seen the most success has been, SMBs on the front line, such as retailers, who else? Food services, restaurants, and then even public service, public sector agencies. Those would be the prime examples and some of the businesses where we've seen some success. If we look first at a retailer, for example, we're seeing generative edit, to focus on one of the comments Kree made around generative AI. So for photography, for example, so they're able to produce professional looking images, can even use Copilot for marketing messaging as well, right? To polish up and have those impactful call to action type statements. So they're not having to go out and spend the same sort of money that they would with a fancy marketing agency, for example. They can actually do their own marketing, produce, whatever those key visuals are along with the compelling copy, and turn that around very quickly and very affordably. If we look at restaurants, for example, they use social channels, as do retailers, and they'll use generative edit as well. And maybe they'll use transcript assist or other things, again, Copilot, and develop that same messaging, maybe to announce through their social channels that they have a new menu or they're running a promotion. And we've seen evidence of greater store traffic, both with retailers and with restaurants. And they love to be able to do this because, as you know, you need to be very nimble. So you don't want to have to spend all that time going out to an agency and doing that. So they can really be their own marketeers, and all those tools are very accessible to them. On the public service or public sector side, as you know, in Canada, we deal in a multilingual environment. So you have to be ready to deal across multiple languages. So there's not so much the need anymore with features like Live Translate, for example, to have a bilingual or trilingual agent, for example. So you can enhance your customer service, customer interactions with things like Live Translate or Interpreter, which are other Galaxy AI tools which are built right into the device and very, very simple to implement. So those would be probably the best examples I can think of. Ultimately, we want AI to be intuitive and safe and very, very easy to integrate.
Those examples that you have shared just now really shows how AI is helping small businesses in their own fields, making their life easier. Now, a big change is happening lately. AI is moving inside the tools SMBs are using already, like emails, documents, spreadsheets, CRM, instead of being a separate experiment. And Microsoft has been launching new AI-powered tools and platforms designed for SMBs. Could you share how these products integrate AI to make advanced, capabilities accessible for SMBs, and how they are helping small businesses compete on a national and even global scale?
So it goes back to part of the previous answer, which is you start your AI journey in the comfort of applications that you're very familiar with. So as you move through this curve of experimentation into fluency, into reflexive AI, once you're at that point, what we see is users then start to move towards empowering themselves with the characteristics of what we refer to as a frontier firm. So what is a frontier firm? A frontier firm is one where you have a combination of organic human capacity combined with synthetic agentive capacity. So they start developing agents that take action on their behalf. And it's not a single agent to fulfill an entire workflow, but an agent or a multitude of agents that complete particular steps within a workflow. And you can then take that and expand that into the concept of an agent swarm, which is a force multiplier of these agents. So human resources, we know, in any organization are typically one of the largest cost of goods within an organization. By leveraging technology, the cost of those resources comes down significantly. So a small and nimble SMB, once again, that could be 5 people strong, with a swarm of agentive capacity, can now go and compete on a global stage because they have this force multiplier that never tires, that gets infinitely smarter as it goes along, and can go and address a variety of use cases on your behalf. So we move from a human in the loop in the current state to a human on the loop, which is observing what's happening, providing direction and instruction. So we refer to that as the rise of the AI agent leader.
It's really exciting, that a small team can now switch on AI in tools they're already using. Recently, we have implemented one tool in our email platform, and it's really it changed the game. It make the work so easy. It's very, as you said, with a small business with 5 team, but they implement the AI in a proper way, it can really help them a lot. We talk about AI in the cloud and productivity stack. Doug, let's go back to the device side and how Samsung is making AI feel approachable. In a lot of SMBs, everything happens on the phone, for most of the SMBs, like payments, stock checks, photos, messaging, emailing. When those devices get smarter with AI, it can change the whole workday. Samsung especially has been introducing innovative solutions. I was at the event 2 months back during the launch, for the new devices and the wearables. Can you talk about how these products and they are designed to make AI approachable and practical for Canadian small businesses, and how they can support real business outcomes?
Yeah, so I think starting with the products themselves that you mentioned, so looking across the whole ecosystem and Samsung and their purposeful innovation have designed from the ground up, to embed AI in all of the products. They started with the S24 a couple of years ago with that release. That's when they came out with the Galaxy AI toolset. And since then, there's been a lot of development. And in terms of SMBs and products, it's hard to connect the dots, right? So you have to help with that. So if you think of the phone, and then you think of a watch and a tablet and a PC, a great example of it all working together would be you could have an officer, for example, on the road who gets an alert on their watch, stops, attends to the issue, records, what's going on, and then has that immediately go over to the phone where he can make a note summary, and he's recorded, obviously, the conversation. And then he could then have wireless with DeX capabilities, right? Pick up on a PC or a tablet, which is mounted, into that emergency vehicle. And you have everything there. And then you can do whatever updates you need to do back to their central office or what have you, right? So there's that whole kind of, call it handoff, and it's a seamless customer experience where that whole ecosystem of products works together. Or the salesperson, who goes in and is working on something on their PC and then does a handoff to give a customer presentation to one of our large displays in a boardroom, and again, can record the meeting, prepare a summary, and then clean it up and have his action email. Again, you've used Copilot, right? So you have the most polished response that you can then send back to the customer. And all of that can happen quite quickly. There's no more delays, right?
And it's like a mobile office in the hand, like you can integrate the AI tools and do a lot of work. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now coming back to Kree, like SMB owners, as a small business, many small business owners, they juggle between marketing, sales, operations, and finance all at once. AI can touch all of that, which can feel overwhelming. From your perspective, Kree, where should SMBs focus first to see the real measurable impact, and how can they avoid the common pitfalls of overcomplicating, AI adoption?
There are two things that I see manifest across businesses. The first one is the number of enterprise-grade AI tools that are being released on a nearly daily basis can feel overwhelming, to touch back on the point that you mentioned. And that drives paralysis in many organizations because they think, I'm going to wait until the best version of this comes out. But if you are not able to waste hours, you are going to lose years. There's never going to be that crystal clear moment to say, now's the time to do it. You've got to start because it's an organic adoption curve. For those that have started on that journey, it's critically important for them to start off with productivity first. So try and imagine and see the AI utilization in low friction tasks. So to the points that Doug had raised as well. So if I'm up and I'm sitting in a coffee shop and I'm on my device and I want to answer an email, it works within the context of a mobile device as well as on the client PC. So work with that, help it recraft your emails, help it to polish up your PowerPoints as you build that fluency. Through that process, you will then organically start to identify areas of opportunity within your business that are the real core differentiators for what makes your business powerful within the context of the market or markets in which it operates. And the ideas actually come from within. It's very difficult for any technology provider to say, these are the actual use cases that you should implement, because your competitors are doing the same thing. You've got to find your unique value proposition that AI can help amplify. But you cannot go from zero to that automatically. You've got to start by experiencing the tools, for opening the aperture for what is possible for yourself in terms of personal productivity, for your team, and then start to look at your value proposition as an organization.
As you rightly said, Kree, using AI tools because your competitors are using. it's not good. Like, according to your use case and like according to your value proposition, using those tools are very, very useful for SMBs. Now, coming back to Doug, like, AI and automation are evolving rapidly. Over the next 2 to 3 years, Doug, like, what emerging AI trends do you think like Canadian SMEs should be watching closely to stay competitive, and what practical steps can they start taking today?
I think there are three key trends, SK. One would be security. The other one would be the kind of cross-device intelligence. So the ecosystem, like we were just talking about. And then generative functionality, AI functionality, which we're seeing the largest uptake on. So if I look at each of those one by one, talking about security, again, going back to some of what Kree said, but on the Samsung side, we have NOC security, which is very well known. So we have that built right into the chipset. So an example, for example, if it came to your personal identity type information, any biometric data, that's stored right into Knox Vault on the device, does not go into the cloud, right? And you have IT administrators or personal users. But if you look slightly larger SMBs, you can actually have policies set up and you can restrict what information goes into the cloud. So I think there is, going back to the caution, some concern around security and AI and going into the cloud and your information. I think you've addressed some of those points already, Kree. The next one, if I look at cross-device intelligence, so that's the handoff and everything working together across that ecosystem. And AI just not being intelligent on one device, but then having that predictive capability and handoff with all of the devices, right? Whether it be watch, tablet, PC, or phone. And then the last one, which is generative, we're seeing the largest uptake. A lot of SMBs really love the fact that they can produce their own professional grade marketing assets, images, and they can social networking. I mean, if you look at marketing funding and budgets of many organizations, for an SMB to be able to do that and produce the same quality with increasing rapidity, and then be able to release that over their social channels and other marketing mediums, I think that's a very, very compelling case to take a harder look at AI and see how they can potentially implement it, right?
Right. I love how you have turned big trends into simple step for many SMBs, like modern devices, clean data, security, and a culture that's open to experimenting with AI. Doug and Kree, we have covered strategy, tools, examples, and the future trends. Let's finish with something very practical for SMB owner, who are listening right now. Sometimes what a small business owner need is just one clear next step, something they can try today or tomorrow, not for the next year. To close, I would love to hear your first, starting with Kree, your personal advice. If you could give one actionable tip to a Canadian SMB owner who's just starting out to explore different AI tools, something they could implement today or tomorrow, what would it be?
So from a Microsoft standpoint, we've got Copilot Chat, which is free for use in your personal capacity. It will run on wonderful mobile devices like our Samsung Android OS. But more than that, Copilot Chat is a secure environment. So everything that you speak to or upload within the context of the chat is stored within that tenant. So you can be safe in the knowledge that your data is not being used to train the model. If you are an M365 subscriber in your personal capacity or even as a small business, which many of our Canadian SMEs are, you also get free access to that. But also that the security protocol is adhered to. So once again, that resides purely within your tenant as a user. And as you build up your skills on that, when you want to move to the paid for version of Copilot, you can do so. And interestingly enough, SK, The premium version of Copilot is $30 a month. Today, right now, at Ignite in San Francisco, they're announcing for SMBs that are 300 seats and below, we're offering that at $21 for our Canadians and global SMBs alike. So that, once again, democratizes the access to this technology at a wonderful price point. So the call to action is go get started on Copilot Chat first and foremost. It's free, it's secure, and you can start to experiment within the context of that. Also, go to learn.microsoft.com, where we have a rich set of free resources that allows people that are starting their AI journey to start with simple to use cases, prompts, and even get to a level of certification if they so wish to do so, and leverage our solutions assessments.
Thank you for sharing those practical and actionable insights. Now, Doug, can you share your tip with the...
My take, if I was to leave a couple of messages for an SMB looking to experiment with AI, first and foremost, I would say focus on one problem area. Don't try and solve the entire puzzle. So going back to keeping it simple, right? And look for a problem area. Let's say it's a customer who's wanting to enhance perhaps their customer communication or customer interaction. So choose one of the AI tools that Samsung offers, whether it's Interpreter, or it could be a summary feature. We have features in our AI tool set where you can adjust the tone and of an email, for example. Microsoft is built in with their Office 365 into pre-installed with many of our devices as well. So you could be creating a summary. You could do further editing within Word using Copilot. You can polish your responses. I think you can really, really elevate your brand at the end of the day using AI. And it's completely free. It's embedded in all of our devices, no charge. So why wouldn't you try and at least tackle one issue where you're looking to really improve the way you interact with customers? And make sure whatever you do, it's going to have measurable ROI. It's not always tangible, but I think in doing that, you'll see some fairly quick and measurable ROI as long as you pick a problem and the appropriate, AI tool to try and solve that. And then lastly, I'd say lean on your partners like Microsoft, like Samsung. You don't have to be doing this on your own. We're there to support you in any way we can with whatever problem you're trying to solve.
Thank you, Doug, for sharing your practical tips with SMB owners. I believe this will help them, making their AI journey smoother. Kree and Doug, thank you so much for joining me and for, helping Canadian SMBs navigate AI smoother. It was a great pleasure hosting you.
Thank you, SK, and thank you, Doug.
Thank you, SK, and thank you, Kree.
Kree, Doug, thank you both for sharing such practical, grounded insights. You have helped make AI feels real and achievable for Canadian SMBs, whether they are in an office, on the job site, or serving customers on the go. And to everyone listening to Canada Business Talks with SK, thank you for joining us. If even one idea today sparks something for you, let that be your sign to test it in your business this week. You don't need a huge budget or a big team to start. Just a curiosity and one small step. I am SK. Take care, keep learning, and keep building.